All right, let's talk about a topic that is absolutely essential for your GPA-KT exam, and more importantly for patient safety, opioid conversions. Look, getting these calculations right is a huge deal, but don't worry, we're going to break it down and make it really simple.
So, are you finding yourself staring at all the different opioid conversion factors? Feeling kind of overwhelmed? Yeah, you're not the only one. It's a classic stumbling block for so many people, but I promise, by the end of this, you're going to have a super clear and simple way to nail them every time.
Okay, here's our game plan. First, we'll touch on why this is so critical. Then, we'll set up our baseline with oral morphine. This is the secret to everything. After that, we'll jump into the key ratios you need to know, take a quick look at how to use a conversion table, and then wrap up with the absolute must-know points for your exam.
So let's start with the big question. Why does this matter so much? Well, it really boils down to two massive things: keeping your patients safe in the real world and snagging those essential marks on your AKT exam.
And look, this goes way beyond just ticking a box on an exam. Out there in your practice, getting a conversion wrong can mean you're either failing to treat someone's pain properly, or, and this is much scarier, you could cause a life-threatening overdose. Mastering this is just a fundamental part of providing safe, effective care.
Okay, now for the one concept that is going to make your life so much easier. I want you to forget about memorizing dozens of conversions between every single drug. We're not doing that. Instead, we're going to use one single drug as our anchor, our home base for every single calculation.
The whole idea behind this is something called the ecoanalgesic dose, and all that fancy term means is what dose of drug A gives you the same pain relief as a dose of drug B. To make sense of it all, we need one common point of comparison.
And here it is. Our gold standard, our North Star for all of this is oral morphine. From now on, every single calculation we do is going to come back to this one drug. Seriously, if you can convert a drug to its oral morphine equivalent, you can convert it to anything else. This is the key.
All right, so you've got your anchor, oral morphine. Now let's start mastering the most common ratios that are going to pop up on your exam. We'll go through them in a few logical groups to make them way easier to remember. First up, let's tackle the weaker opioids. We're going to lump codeine and tramadol together here because they share the exact same super simple rule. Just think divide by 10. Let's see it in action. To get the oral morphine equivalent of codeine, you just take the daily dose and divide it by 10. So if a patient is on 240 milligrams of codeine a day, that's the same as getting 24 milligrams of oral morphine. See? Simple.
And it's the exact same rule for tramadol. Let's say the daily dose is 400 mg. You just divide that by 10, and you get an oral morphine equivalent of 40 milligrams. So for codeine and tramadol, it's easy. Just divide by 10.
Okay, time to switch gears. Let's talk about a stronger, very common oral opioid, oxycodone. The conversion factor for this one is an absolute must-know, and it's a little different.
Now listen up, because this is super important. Oral oxycodone is 1.5 times stronger than oral morphine. That means you actually need less of it to get the same effect. So to convert from oral morphine to oxycodone, you divide the morphine dose by 1.5. This is one you have to commit to memory. Next up, what happens when we change the way we give the drug? Going from a pill that someone swallows to an injection under the skin, a subcutaneous or SC injection. This changes how much of the drug gets into the system, so we have to adjust the dose.
When you're switching from oral morphine to subcutaneous morphine, the SC route is basically twice as potent. So the rule couldn't be simpler. Just divide the oral dose by 2. A 15 milligram oral dose becomes 7.5 milligrams when you give it subcutaneously.
Now, what about an even more powerful option you see a lot in palliative care? Subcutaneous diamorphine? Well, that one's 3 times stronger than oral morphine. So you can probably guess the rule, right? Yep, you just divide the oral dose by 3. That same 15 milligrams of oral morphine is now only 5 milligrams of SC diamorphine.
So memorizing those key ratios will be a lifesaver in your exam. But in a busy clinic, or if you just want to be extra careful, you'll probably use a conversion table. Let's do a quick run-through of how to use one.
Using these tables is a super simple 3-step process. Step 1, find the drug you're starting with, the from drug, in that column on the left. Step 2, find the drug you're switching to, the to drug, in the top row. And step 3, see where that row and column meet. That's your conversion factor.
Let's test it with the last example we did. We find our from drug, oral morphine, on the left.
We find our 2 drug, SC-diamorphine, up top, and right where they meet, the table tells us exactly what we already learned. Divide by 3. It's a perfect little safety net to confirm your math.
Okay, we've covered the core idea, the key ratios, and the tools. Now let's just boil this all down into the most critical, high-yield info you need to walk into that exam feeling totally confident.
If you only have the brain space to memorize 3 rules for your exam, please make it these 3. Number 1, for the weaker guys, like codeine and tramadol, you divide by 10 to get to oral morphine. Number 2, going from oral morphine to SC morphine, you divide by 2. And number 3, to switch from oral morphine to that stronger oral oxycodone, you divide by 1.5. You have to know these cold.
And finally, I want to leave you with this really vital piece of clinical wisdom. Remember that these tables and rules, they're fantastic guides, but they are not gospel. Caution your own clinical judgment, and carefully adjusting the dose for each individual patient are always the most important things. It really highlights the art of medicine, doesn't it? You've got to balance this hard knowledge with the unique needs of the person sitting right in front of you. And now you're much better equipped to do just that.